But what we're going to do, so obviously this is being recorded. What we're going to do is I'm going to go through some sharing basics and talk about a couple different techniques there as far as setting up folders, sharing files. Things did change over the summer. So the way that the sharing screen looks is different, and that's caused a little bit of confusion. So we're going to kind of show that process and what that looks like now and how to set up things so you have the smoothest share with students as possible. We know that a lot of adjuncts teach at multiple schools, so we'll show you a little bit of a way to embed or link into classes so that you can have content in one place that updates kind of automatically, and talk about the pros and cons of doing that. And then we'll take a 10-minute time to have some Q&A. And then Karen's going to go into a brief demo of Grackle in Google Docs, which is the accessibility checker, and just kind of hit the highlights of that. So kind of a mini version of just making sure your content is accessible. But as usual, we'll talk about that throughout what we're doing. So let me get my screen shared here. And in case you've never used Drive before, and Karen, if you can monitor chat, I want to minimize my thing. So if you do have questions that we're going, feel free to type in chat. I'm going to minimize my chat bar. If you've never used Drive before, the easiest way to access it is to log into your pipeline, log into your Gmail, and then in the upper right-hand corner is a little grid of 9 squares, also known as the waffle menu. If we click on that, you'll see all your different applications that you have available to you. You can rearrange these. So if I click and drag, I can move these around in a different order. So my Drive is at the top right-hand corner. That doesn't mean that's where your Google Drive is. So you can rearrange these in a way that makes sense to you. But when you click on Google Drive, it'll open up a new tab that'll take you into your Drive. And you can kind of think of Drive as an online storage or an online flash drive, a little portable hard drive that doesn't physically hold in your hand, but you just have up in the cloud. And inside this drive, you can have folders, files, all kinds of different things you want inside of here. And then the power of Google Drive is the ability to share. And since all of our students have a Gmail account through Pipeline, we know that they can all access this. So this is something that's very accessible and easy to get to for students as well as faculty. What I suggest is, because what happens is over time, people share things with you on the campus as well. There's an area called Shared With Me down here on the left side, but you'll also see sometimes those files or folders will show up in your Drive area, even though you didn't create it, but they were owned by somebody else and shared with you. And so you can see under the owner who is the creator of that item. You'll probably notice that mine looks like a big list. And if you logged in for the first time, you might see like a recents area up here at the top, or it might look like big file folders. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a couple little icons up here. If I click on this little grid here, it's going to take it to what they call the grid view. So I see all my folders, and then I see kind of an icon of all of the other documents I have in my Google Drive. So it's just a different view. I am a little bit old school. I like the technical. I like to see all the file names and all that stuff. So I like to keep it in what they call list view, which is that's just a toggle on and off. I think it's under the I. This is the information, the details, and you can look at, if I click on any file, it'll show me some information about it. I don't use this very often, but if you happen to see it open, you can just click on this little hide details to close it, to give yourself some more space. What I recommend for faculty is to make a folder called class or classes. And you'll notice that in front of mine, I put a little underscore. And I do that because it's in alphabetical order, so I can have that lift to the top of my Google Drive names. So if I wanted to make a new folder, I'd go under New, and then just make a new folder, give it a name. So in this case, I'm going to do underscore classes. and hit create. And you'll see that that'll float right up to the top, and I've got a folder there. I'm going to use the one I already created, and I'll delete that one later. So if I open up this class folder that I have, inside here, I've created folders for all the classes that I teach over time. When you're in a folder, so if I click on this My Drive here at the top, I see at first all the folders. And then when I double click on this folder, you can see these kind of breadcrumbs start appearing, and it lets me know which folder I'm in. So if I'm looking inside this class folder and then I hit new and create a new folder in here, that's going to create a new folder for a new class. So I'll call this marketing 123 and hit create. And so now it's going to create that marketing 123 folder. Okay. From here, I kind of have two options, and it really depends on how you think you're going to use the folder. So you can see on these folders, there's no little white icon, but on these folders, there are a white icon. These white icons means that it's shared with somebody. So you have kind of a choice. You can make it so everything in the folder is shared, or you can share just single files one at a time. The process is kind of the same. It's just where you find that that link. So if you wanted to set up the folder in a way that anything you put in there will automatically be shared with your class, so you don't have to keep doing it over and over again, you'll still have to get the links to put in there, but this way you don't have to keep doing the share settings over and over again. What I'm going to do is with this folder highlighted, so I'm just clicking once on it, so it's highlighted blue. I'm going to click on the little person icon with the plus next to it in the very upper right-hand corner. And this is the share icon, and this brings up the sharing screen. This share screen will look the same as when we go into a document and click on share. So the settings are kind of the same. By default, everything you create is restricted only to you or individuals you add to it. So if you wanted to add the ability for others at the college to see it, you're going to click down here and see it says change link to Santa Barbara City College. So if I click on that, now anybody at SBCC can view the document. But what that means, or this folder, so it'd be everything inside the folder as well. But what that means is any student who's accessing anything in that folder needs to log in with their Pipeline account. As we know, many students don't log into their Pipeline by default. A lot of times their computer is set to their personal Gmail account. And so this can cause viewing issues, or you'll get constant requests from students asking for access to the file from random Gmail addresses that you don't know. So what we generally recommend is that you set the sharing, be it a file or a folder, for students. I'm going to click on where it says Santa Barbara City College. I'm going to click on this little arrow here and change it to anyone with the link. So what this means is anybody in the world, when they click on the link, can view your document. It also means they can download a copy of it or save a copy of the document. So just want you to be aware of that. It doesn't mean it's searchable. So people doing a Google search can't just find your document and stumble upon it. But it does mean that students could potentially take this link and paste it somewhere else out for other people to use. So I just want you to be aware of what that really means. So once I have this shared, I can copy this link and share the folder, but for right now, I'm just going to hit done. And you'll see that now there's a little share icon next to the folder. So now that that folder is shared, if I open this up and I make a new document or put anything in here, it's going to automatically have those same share settings. So when I go to new and I create a document, it's going to tell me, are you sure you want to have this with the same permissions? So you just hit create and share. And so it's reminding you that this is shared out. I'll give it a name. And then whatever content I add in here will now be shareable. Let me check my notes really quick. Bump, bump, bump. Cool. Everyone with me so far? I don't see anything chitter in chat, so I think we're all right.
Nothing in chat.
Cool. So now that I have the document created and it's shared, and I can see I have a little chain link up here at the bottom that lets me know that anyone with the link can view if I hover over it. If I click on that, I can just copy the link. And then once that's copied, I can then email this out. I can post it in Canvas. I can do whatever I want to do with that particular link. If you were in a document that wasn't shared already and you wanted to share just this single document, what you would do is just click on the share icon in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can do the same settings we did earlier and change who has access to that document. This interface is a little weird. It's definitely a different step. So you would just click on this little link down here to activate those sharing.
And Rob, could you just repeat quickly how to create a new document again?
Yeah.
The steps.
So I go back to the folder. So I already have my folder, right? So I made that folder in here. So I have my big class folder. I made the folder called Marketing 123, which is clicking on this new up here and then hitting folder. And then when I go into the folder, I could say new at the top. And then, so I'm inside the Marketing 123 folder. So since that folder is already shared, I can say new doc, and then it's just going to make that. It's just reminding me that the folder is shared. So I can create it, and this might be video resources. And then I put like links to YouTube video. Right. So you can do anything you want as far as in the document is concerned. Because it's in that folder that's already shared, I don't need to also go up into the sharing. I'm going up here just to get the link that I can copy. So all I have to do now is hit that copy link, because it's already telling me that anyone on the internet with the link can view it. So I grab that and I go into my Canvas class. Sure, we can do it here. And I wanted to make a link to that document. So I have this document, share. I'm going to copy the link when I go into any page or anywhere inside of Canvas. And this could be inside of an announcement as well. I'll hit edit, and I've got that link copied. So if I highlight any text in here, I can hit on I'm on a PC, so I'm going to hit hold control and hit the letter K. On a Mac, you can do command and the letter K, and that'll bring up the link dialog box inside of Canvas. And I can just paste in that link from that document and target a new window. So when I click on that, it'll open up in a new window. The benefit of doing it this way, by having a link to a page like we've just done, so I have a page that has a bunch of content, a bunch of videos or anything in here, is now when I have that link, I can link to that same page from multiple classes. If the resources are appropriate, you could share that with other faculty members if you want to. And I know Rick has the question about, what's a good way to share this with other classes or with other schools. You can do the same thing, because that link isn't tied now to SBCC. So if you're teaching the same class at one or two other schools, you can use the same link and it'll take them to that page of resources.
Rob, could you simply explain why you would share a doc to just view, to enable others to edit?
In general, if you're just giving content, so if I wanted to share this document with you, but I don't want to let you change it, right, or anybody else to change it, what I'm going to do is either add you as a viewer, or if I wanted to have you make changes, I could add you as an editor. So let's say Rick and I were co-teaching a class, we could make, or even a department, you could make one department page of all the resources for English or all the resources for history for doing research, and you could link that same page and give multiple faculty members editing rights, but you're giving students, so that anyone with a link, you always want to leave set to view, because viewing means they can only see the content, not change it. Most of my content that I do personally for my class, I just make pages inside of Canvas. I'll show you a variation on that in just a minute. Yeah, I would, as far as, so the question is, sometimes I get to Google Docs using bookmarks as opposed to going through Pipeline to keep the sharing settings. It should be the same as long as you're logged in with Pipeline. I like to always go through Drive and keep my Drive organized in a way that I can find things. And that's why I set up these folders. So if I wanted to find my syllabus for an old marketing class, I can come into class, go into, marketing 220, and then any resources I have will be right in here. So I have easy access by organizing this in a way that makes sense to me. You can't set the whole sharing default. Someone else asked this question too, is how can I set my whole drive to just always be anyone with the link? No, and you don't want to. That's why I make that folder. So now I've set this folder up, and in the settings, so I highlight the folder and I go to the share little icon up here. I can make sure that folder is shared. So now that anything I put in that folder or automatically has the same sharing rights. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in 1 second. So the question is, what are the trade-offs or advantage of posting a link to Google Doc versus content in a Canvas page? And so here, let me actually go to a different class really quick. Right. The main reason we want to post things in a Canvas page as far as content for our class is it's lives inside of Canvas so that students aren't getting lost. If I were to make a link to a page, I'll highlight this, Control K, I make that link, and I hit save. When students come into this page, they can click on this and it opens up in Google Docs, but I'm taking them kind of out of Canvas at this point, right? So they're in a different area. They're doing something different than simply viewing my content in Canvas. There's a way to embed this, and I'll show you how to do that. So the advantage doing it having just the content inside here, as opposed to like if I took all this content and I put it inside this test page, it's one more step for students to get to, right? Instead of just clicking on the page and seeing it, they click on the page, then they click on this to go out to the Google Doc to see the content. So we're slowing down that content. So why would we choose to do that? The main reason that most faculty, or many faculty who do this, want to do it is because they're teaching multiple sections of the same class, or it's content that needs to be shared with multiple classes that might not even be the same class. So if you're teaching any class on writing, you might have a document that has a bunch of writing resources that you're constantly updating. So instead of updating it in multiple sections, you can just have a link to the Google Doc that you can change, and it'll automatically send those changes to all of those classes because it's living in the Google Doc, not inside the page inside of Canvas. But it is making it one more step for students to view. So hopefully that helps. I want to show you one more thing, and I don't necessarily recommend this process, but I want to show you because it can be nice. So what I just showed you here is a link. So it's a page in Canvas, and I've added a link to a page so that opens up this Google Doc outside of Canvas. What we can do is we can activate something called publishing inside of Google Docs, which allows us to show the content inside of a Canvas page, but there's a downside to it. So what I'm going to do, and this is a little HTML, so if this feels a little odd to you, don't worry. It is a little trippy, and this is being recorded, so you can watch it later. I'm I'm going to add a new page. I'm going to simply call this test. And I want to, instead of having students link out to a page, I'm going to activate something called publishing. So here's a page of all this content, and I'm going to go to File and say Publish to the web. Once you publish it, what it does, and I hit this Publish button, so what it would look like is this when you first come in. I'm going to hit Publish, and then I'm going to grab this embed code. And this is where it gets a little messy, right? So don't worry about the code right now, but I'm just simply highlighting it and copying it. And then I'm going to go and paste this code into my Canvas page. And essentially what we're doing is we're going to make the Google Doc look like a Canvas page. Once I'm in the editor, I'm going to go to HTML view and paste in that code. And what I have to do is type in a little bit of extra code. If I just look at it as it is, so if I go back to the rich content editor, my page is really super tiny. So I want to make this look like it's just in the content. So I have to give the content a height and a width. Let's say height equals, I'll say 600, or I'll do 800 pixels. And then width equals 100%. And that 100% width is what's important, because what it's going to do is it's going to make the Google Doc the same width as the viewer's screen. So if they're on a phone, it'll shrink it. If it's on a big desktop, it'll expand it. And I'll go ahead and
Update
hit
height
save.
first. Whoops.
What did I?
Height was the E and the I. Oops. EI.
Thanks. And give it a value and hit save. And so you can see it'll be edge to edge, and it just looks like text on a page, right? So this looks a lot nicer than linking out to a Google Doc, right? So I don't have to click on anything. The students are just viewing it right in here. Here's the problem. The reason that you don't want to necessarily do this, or why this is a false security, is screen readers will skip this. It'll go straight from the title down to the bottom. And it's not going to read any of this text to a screen reader. So if you want to use that embed, what we recommend is, in addition to the embed code, that you have a link to your Google Doc as well. So what that would look like is I've got the embed code, and then I'll grab the sharing link. And so I would highlight this and Control or Command K, paste that in, make it a new window, and hit save. And so now I have two options. The students can click here to go to the Google Docs version, and then they also see the embedded version. Like I said, the embedded version, not many people use it, but it is there as an option. The other caveat for the embed code is that it does have a delay. So when you make changes, it will take 5 to 10 minutes for those changes to show over. Okay. One last thing I want to show you. When you're copying and pasting from a Google Doc into a page, it's not going to auto update, right? So that's a one-time copy, and you oftentimes lose formatting as well. So if your end result is just going to be text in a page, I would just type it in the page in Canvas, as opposed to trying to copy and paste it. And of course, once it's a page in Canvas, you can copy and paste to another page in Canvas, even if it's another shell. So if you just want it to be in Canvas, I would just write it from the beginning inside of Canvas. Okay. Last little trick I want to show you, and we will give you some time for more questions, I swear, is the ability to give a student a template. And one of the things that I have in my drive, so let me go into my Marketing 200A class. For my final project, I give students a template. So here's my marketing plan template, which is really just an outline, right? So I've got this set up. of what they need to include for each part of the document. I've also set up heading tags in here. So you can see it also creates a table of contents over here automatically just by setting up the header tags for each area. So I click on overview, you can see it's there. And so this is a nice way for students to start their document. So if I want to give this to students, right, I could hit share and I can copy this link and I can put this link into my class. But when students click on it, what it's going to do, hit save. So when students click on it, it's going to simply open up the document. And so if they wanted to use this template and edit it, they would have to go to File, make a copy, or download it as a Word document, and then it'll make it copy in their space. So there's a trick that we can do, which is you take the URL, the link of the document, and see at the end here it says /edit. What I'm going to do is change that to /copy. And I'll copy this whole link again. And I'm going to replace the link that's in here. Again, holding Control K or Command K on a Mac. Just simply deleting everything that's in there and pasting it in so it has the /copy at the end. And then what happens is when students click on this link the first time, actually every time they click on it, it'll prompt them to make a copy into their Google Drive. So that way there's no chance that they're going to be working on your original or get confused of where it is. But it's just it's an option, and it's a nice option for a way to give a template out. So it's just simply taking the link and replacing the /edit at the end with /copy. I'm going to, I think I hit all the key points there. Yep.
Yep.
Let me expand my video here. And if anyone has any quick questions, I have allowed you to unmute yourselves now. So if you want to unmute and ask a question quick, feel free to do so. And if you don't have any other general questions, we'll move on to other things. The linking thing is the same as a PDF. So if I go into my drive, you'll see I have PDFs in here. So this is PDF. I can click on the little share. So I'm just highlighting the PDF and I can share it up at the top, and I can do the linking, but I can't make it a template. So I will, the /copy won't work with that because it's not a Google Doc.
I have a question about sharing copies or sharing templates. I have a feeling it depends on the settings that I am on or that students are on in order to access them, because some students can access the copied links I sent and some can't. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. And I know I have emailed you guys about this. So I'm wondering if there is something more to not only the sharing settings, but getting into Drive, through Chrome, through Pipeline, all of the protocols you need to go through, if that could be why some students are not able to access the links.
It could be that they're on a mobile device and they don't have Google Drive installed or something like that. But if they're on a Chromebook or any type of laptop or desktop, this should work really smoothly. If they're on an older smartphone, it might have issues.
They may also not have logged into their Pipeline account. They may have gone into Pipeline and gone to Canvas, and then the link to the Pipeline account may have timed out.
Yeah, I've been through all of this with them, and I have been really careful to go through the same protocols when I share the links, but some students are still really having issues with copy. I get a lot of request access requests because they can't even see the document. So
is the request access coming from a Pipeline account? Because usually it'll say.
Some of them were through Google Gmail, and I rerouted them, but some are coming from Pipeline. And I have seen where can see the document, and at the top it says request access, and that's where some of them are mistakenly doing that rather than making a copy. But these students that I'm talking about, all they see is a screen that says request access. They can't even see the document. So it's just, if you're not sure what to do, I'm just giving that as a heads up for other people that I've had trouble with that. Some students can't access the copy.
I think we need to look at your exact share settings, because that sounds like it's not shared with anyone with the link.
Yeah, so I'd love to set up a time that I can do that with you guys to share my screen.
Yeah, because we could probably do it right after this if you want, because that shouldn't take very long. Because this still has to be set to anyone with the link for that all to work.
Yep, doing all that. So I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Yep, and then Sergio has a question about setting up a Zoom link to how do we add a Zoom link to Canvas through Google Drive? If you, I assume you're putting your Zoom video, so you're talking about the recording of the video. If that's what it is, you should be putting that in YouTube, and then you would just link to it like you normally would. So if you wanted to link to a recorded Zoom video from a Google Doc page, right, I would just come to my uploaded YouTube video, grab the shared link here, and then in any particular Google Doc, I can just simply paste in that link. And if I hit enter, it'll make it a link to that YouTube video. It's not going to embed it in a document. That works better in Canvas itself. Or if I just paste that link, it'll embed it. Is that what you're talking about? So like on this one here, I made the video resources. I would just take this, Control K, same link command as in Canvas, paste in that YouTube link, and now that text is now linked to that YouTube video. And then I would link this whole page inside of Canvas, so then I can keep adding to this resource as the semester goes on. Really good as well if you have students doing a video project or some other project where they're sending you a link, then you can make a sheet that has all of the links that students can click on. So lots of use cases. You can really, when you really get used to this process, you can use this in a lot of different ways. You can give students editing access individually, so you can make groups and give group projects this way. So there's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with it. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and let Karen show you how to check a document for accessibility using Grackle.
Okay, so Rob's shown us how to create and share our Google Docs and Google Drive, and I just want to remind you that we want to have all of our electronic documents accessible for students who are using screen readers. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that people using a screen reader are able to maneuver throughout the document, utilizing the different document settings and styles to jump from different parts of the document to the other. They'll also hear descriptions of pictures and images, and also they'll have access to different information that we take for granted when we're a visual student. For instance, this document, I look at this and I can visually see the titles. They're bigger. I can see how the different sections are broken down simply by making bigger, bolder titles for the different topic sections. I know a lot of people who are in the habit of doing this, but what I would like to see everyone do as they're creating their content is to remember to use the different accessibility tools within Google Docs, and those things are using these different settings like the header. Okay, so we want to, if we need to change something to a different heading style, of course we would select the wording and we would use this styles drop down to select the heading that we want it to be. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple different ones I have. And for instance, this one, you know, we have the different headings, bolder and bigger and different colors, and visually this works out perfectly. But since the different heading settings and also the different bulleted lists are placed in here, if I were using a screen reader, I would have shortcuts on my computer where I could just skip through the different topic headings to find the information I want read to me. Okay, and remember, without these different settings, and I'm using a screen reader, I would have to listen to the whole page to get to the content that I want to learn about. Okay, so we really need to take the time to do this when we're creating our documents. And there is a checker, an accessibility checker, that makes this easy to do within Google Docs. And how you would install this accessibility checker is to open up a Google Doc, okay? And then if we go to what's called add-ons, this add-on menu, if I click on it, what you would do is you would scroll down to the bottom of the list and you would click Get Add-ons. Okay, and then up here where it says Search Apps, I would type in Grackle. And you can see there's an add-on not only for the Google Docs, there's one for slides and sheets. Okay, and you would have to add the add-on to each of the different types, but we're using Google Docs today. So what I would do is I would select Grackle Docs and then I would install it. So I'll click here and you can see I've already installed and it tells me that. But if this is the first time you're installing, there'll be an install button here and you would install it into your Google browser. So when you have a document, a Google Doc that you want to check for accessibility, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your add-ons, and you've already added Grackle. So you would click on add-ons, you would look for Grackle Docs, and when you're ready to check the document, you would click on launch. But I also want to mention to you that there's a help section here that will run you through the different things that Grackle is looking for. And I believe there's 23 different elements of accessibility they're looking for, and it's broken down into 6 different categories. Basically, the document, how it's set up, the images, do they have alt tags, the header, that is so the structure is easy to navigate, tables, if you're using tables, sometimes that's difficult for screen readers to navigate. So if you don't actually need a header, if you're just using it to lay out items, we always think that it's best not to go with tables, okay? And then there's landmarks. Those are basically headers and footers that it's checking, and different items within content. And this will give to you a quick rundown of all the different things that's being checked, okay? So let me hop back to that course we were at, and I think this is the one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add-ons, and I'm going to go to Grackle Docs, and this time I'm actually going to launch it. And so when I launch it, this panel opens up in the right-hand side, okay? And what Grackle does is it scans my document and it checks all these different items, and if they pass, you'll get a green check, okay? And as you can see, here are the 6 different categories, and this one seems to have passed completely. Notice here, sometimes you'll get a check mark, a green check with a red dot on it, and notice it says headers and footers should be used. This one does have headers added. The thing is, Grackle needs you to be putting the headers in. It's assuming you're going to, and it's kind of a reminder to be adding your headers. This check will tell you if you have them out of order. Say you had a heading 1 and you went to heading 3, then it would tell you that the order was incorrect. But it needs to know that you actually have the headers put in here. So this is more of a reminder to you to do a manual check, okay? And if we scroll down to here, This is also a warning, all caps styling should be avoided. I do have the titles here in all caps. Sometimes we do use all caps, but of course we don't want to write out different paragraphs in all capital letters. Okay, so let me just find a different document I have here that has, I'm sure, more problems. Okay, so we went over installing Grackle docs, launching docs. There's, like I said, 6 different categories, 23 different types. Down here, I made some examples. When we talked about headings, that is just a way for the screen readers to navigate through your document, okay? And the lower the heading number, that's the larger size. The pages should have one H1 header, and then subheaders would go to heading 2. You would have text that uses the normal text style, and then if your headings are on the same letter, like I may have a subtopic 3 underneath here too. But if I wanted to make and go back to a higher heading, I would want to go back to a 2. I wouldn't want to jump from a 3 to a 1. And if that sounds confusing, you could contact us. We'll look at it with you. But just remember that we definitely want to be adding these headings to our documents. Okay, and images, this is always important. We need to add what's called alt text to our images. And within Google Docs, what I would do here, I can right click on the image, and then, let me see here. Why am I not seeing it? Alt text right here. Okay, so if I right click on the image and I click on alt text, it's going to give me a place where I could enter the text for this image. Okay, now by default, what's going to be put in here is, let's say this was the name of the file of this image we've put in here. It would just take the name of the image and put it in that description. So if I had the screen reader reading to me and it just said kids-tech-revise.jpg, that wouldn't mean a whole lot. So what we would want to do is modify the alt text to make sure it reads a description of what the image is, okay? And there's also going to be, if it's just decorative that you're putting in here, there's going to be a way to mark things as decorative too. The other thing I want to point out is links. We don't want to paste the whole HTTP. Let me just show you here. Like, we don't want to add to documents just a URL like we're seeing here. What we'll want to do is hide or enter the what you want read as the link, and then we make this link hot. And once again, we do Control K, and I would paste this link within here and apply. And so then it would be read to me, you know, sample doc, like, and a better example is up above here. Listen to a bad example from an audio, from a screen reader, but listen to a good example. So whatever the example is, we want to have a descriptive link, not just the URL being read to students. Okay, and also what can be tricky is tables. Let me just run through this quickly, what it looks like if I use Grackle on this example. And so I know there's a number of problems within here. So once again, I would go to add-ons. After I have Grackle installed, I am going to go to Grackle Docs and I'm going to launch it. So just as another example, over here on the right-hand side, it is analyzing the different problems within here. Okay, and it's still checking. So 19 of 22, the checks passed. The document title is required. So if I click on here, and the document title is mainly used for PDF files. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. If you get your Google Doc set accessibility-wise and you need to create it as a PDF, you know, over here is the file and you can download as. This doesn't download the tags needed for an accessible PDF file. What you would have to do is make sure this is checked and passes everything correctly for accessibility, but then you would use this export to PDF, which will enable an accessible PDF file. Okay, so when you're exporting this to PDF, it's just a little bit different. So let me just quickly look at this. So document title is required, and if I want to, I can just use the Google Doc name, which is this, and I'm going to choose that option. And notice I can click recheck, and it tells me, yeah, that passes now. If I scroll down a little bit, images should have alt text or be marked as an artifact. So what I can do is I can come in here, and it tells me there's two different ones that need to be checked. And if I click on locate, it's going to take me to that image. And then if I click on tag, what it's going to do is going to pop up this dialog box, and I can mark this as an artifact if I want, or I could say this is the Grackle Docs logo. So I'm just going to make this an artifact for now. So I'll update that, and then I can also come down here and I'll locate the next item. And of course, here it is, the children on the tape on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this modified sample alt text. So I'll copy it, and let me tag it, and let me enter that description. Okay, and I believe it's always easier when you're creating your documents to run through this as you're going, when you have to go back in and make sure everything is accessible. It seems to take more time when you're creating something and you know how you're setting things up, and it's all right in your mind and you're in the document. I always do think it's easier to just make these corrections, these needed things to make things accessible while you're in the document. Okay, so that checked, and that's fine. Let me just scroll down quickly. So headings, remember, this is the reminder. A single H1 heading should be used, and I do have a single H1 heading in here. Notice this is just a reminder. Tables, this is an important thing. If I click on tables must be tagged, I can click on locate. It's going to show me where in the document that is. And then if I click on tag, the tables need to have headers on them. So I'm going to, I could say this is, and this isn't true, but perhaps if I just had two images and I was finding a way just to make it appear better in the layout, I could say the table is used for layout only. But in this case, it is a table with some data in it. So what I could do is I could mark the first row as a header, and I can also mark the first column as a header. Okay, and it's showing you the directions that the screen reader would go, okay, when reading this back. Okay, so let me go ahead and click update. And I know tables can be tricky.
Yeah, it's always best to avoid tables if you don't need tables.
Yeah, avoid it if you don't need it. Yeah, and so here, if I recheck this, I'm thinking this very well may be ready.
I actually saw someone yesterday who had a table. They had all their content in their syllabus in a table, but it was just one column. So everything was just in a table all the way down, and it's not really serving a purpose, and it just makes it more confusing for anyone who's using a screen reader. So it's definitely one of those things you just want to avoid.
Right. So that pretty much walks you through the different things that are required for a document, such as a Google Doc, to be made accessible. Like I said, there is a Grackle version to use for your Google Slides and also for your Google spreadsheets. So get used to it. I would, what another thing you could do when I was playing with this is, let me look here real quick if I can find it. You could just open up one of your documents to play with. But what you could also do, remember Rob told you when you come into Drive or you go up here to the Google Apps, if you go to Google Docs, they give you a number of, different docs in the template gallery. And so what I was doing when I was playing with checking things, if they're accessible, I would just choose one of these. Okay, and that would open up a copy, and then just to get in practice of creating these or running through Grackle, I would go up to add-ons, and this is the document somebody had laid out, and I could just go ahead and click on Grackle Docs and launch it and just see what all would be needed to make this accessible.
And if you're making, just as a reminder, if you're making content in a Canvas page, Canvas has its own accessibility checker in there, and they use the term decorative image versus a artifact. It's the same thing. It's just two different words for the same thing.
Correct. And so if anybody wants to more information on this, you can contact us, or if you also have questions about using the checker in Canvas pages, or in Canvas, the rich text editor, I should say, you can contact us and we can send you information on that also. So any questions or anything that you would like to add, Rob?
Nope, just those two little things. Any other? Let me. I'll make it so you guys can unmute again if you want to. Any questions on this or the process? And again, like I think I put it in chat. The export PDF is just there as an option if for some reason you needed it or wanted it as a PDF. Once you run the accessibility checker, you can still just link or use the same link to the document. You don't have to download it as a PDF. It can just stay a Google Doc.
Right. But just a reminder also, if you are wanting it to be in a PDF, you'll want to export it this way rather than saving it from the file download.
I've had about 50 people in the past 24 hours ask me where the recording is going to be. We're actually working on redesigning our FRC website. So starting with this video, we will have a playlist available on the FRC homepage, at least by Monday. It just takes a while to get the video uploaded and rendered and all that stuff. So once it's up there, it'll be there, and every video for the rest of the semester will be on the same link in the same playlist. So they'll be all in one place, easy to find, and we'll send out an announcement email with a link to it as well. Any other questions on Grackle or anything else we did in Drive?
There's a question I have. I just want to make sure of something. I still have students adding my class this week, and I have a Google shared drive shared with that entire class. Well, I shared it, at the beginning of the semester. I just want to make sure when students are adding my class, they will get added to that, being able to access the drive, right?
You added your drive, your group, your class group.
The whole class group, yeah. The CRM
I believe so.
number.
I've never actually been able to test to that, since we don't have access the same way. But as long as it's shared with the group, everyone in that group should be able to access it. Yeah, I mean, I would just definitely have it as soon as they're updated to the group, it should work. If for some reason there's a delay adding them to the group, you might want to add their pipeline IDs as well to that shared folder. If you wanted to make sure it's like instant,
Yeah, sorry I missed the beginning. You might have been asked stuff like that, but I found my internet connection was off at the beginning. I missed about 25 minutes of your presentation.
Oh yeah, no worries. Like I said, it's going to be recorded and posted up there. So yeah, we went through a lot of the sharing settings, but not necessarily about the group. And that's a little tricky, and it's not going to necessarily be there always. So we were more showing in the settings just the global sharing as opposed to specific students.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.